Welcome to another episode of The Modern Hotelier. We're excited to bring this episode to you with Mike Weiss, co-founder and co-CEO of Trailborn. David, what were some of your favorite takeaways from this episode?
Yeah, this just keeps going with kind of a theme that we've picked up on, since post-COVID, people wanting to be outdoors, people wanting options, maybe not glamping. They want more of a 4-star property like they have. They don't want a two-star low service property. So I think what they're doing is amazing. And I think, it was great talking to Mike and learning more.
Absolutely. We talked a couple weeks ago about how outdoor hospitality is one of the, hot trends in hospitality right now. So offering that more high-end hotel in a place that might, be focused more on camping or something like that, I thought was a great idea. And his properties look incredible. So definitely looking forward to checking one of those out. But enjoy this episode.
Enjoy it. Welcome to The Modern Hotelier, the most engaged podcast in hospitality. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think about today's episode. Steve, who do we have on the program today?
Yeah, David, today we have on Mike Weiss. Mike is the co-founder of Trailborn. Mike is transferring outdoor hospitality and adventure travel, creating experiences that connect people to nature without sacrificing the comfort or service. Trailborn hotels are iconic outdoor destinations where they create beautiful spaces and local experiences designed to guide your adventure. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
All right. So, Mike, we're going to go through a quick lightning round, get to know you a little bit better, and then dive into some industry topics. Sound good?
Great.
All right. So, what's something you wish you were better at?
Golf.
What is your most used emoji?
Either the thumbs up or the pound.
Got it. What's a luxury you can't live without?
Coffee.
All right. If you had a time machine, are you going into the future or into the past? And what year are you going to?
I'm either going way in the past before I was born or into the future. I think reliving Groundhog Day, I think would be a pretty bad existence.
I hear you. What's the best piece of advice you've received?
Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Good. And finally, what's your favorite city and why?
I guess I have to go with New York. I'm born in New York, and I've lived in New York or around New York most of my life. And after experiencing New York, I go into other cities just isn't the same.
Makes sense.
Well said. Well said, Mike. Well, you're leading right into this next section perfectly. We're going to dive into your background a little bit and more what makes you tick. So, as you just said, you grew up in New York. How did growing up in New York shape you into who you are today?
Oh, good question. So I think when you're young in New York, you just get thrown right into it. I remember when I was it must have been like fourth or fifth grade, I started taking the public bus across town to school. Now I've got a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter, and I don't think I would ever put them on a public bus. And so I think New York forces you to kind of up your game a little bit and grow up a little bit faster. And it's a competitive place, and I'm a fairly competitive person, so I think that's how New York has shaped me.
And you majored in psychology from Cornell. You got your business MBA from Stanford. What made you choose those careers? Sorry, and what really kind of led you to those schools?
Yeah, so Cornell, it's funny. I'll tell you a story. My dad went to Cornell. His dad went to Cornell. My uncle went to Cornell. My cousins went to Cornell. And when it came time for me to pick a school, I played baseball in high school. I wanted to play baseball in college. I started doing the school tour, and I went up and started going from place to place. I met with the baseball coach. I did the campus tour, and then we kind of hit the road and moved on to the next one. And when I got to Cornell, my dad, who was very involved in the school, had me meet with the dean, had me meet with the athletic director, had me meet with the baseball coach, toured me around. We stayed in the Statler Hotel, which is a great hotel on campus. And we basically spent 3 days there. And it's whereas we spent about an hour in each of the other places. And then my dad was like, "So where do you want to go to school?" And I was like, "Well, I know where you want me to go to school." So luckily, I grew up going to Cornell. It's an awesome school. Just a really great education, beautiful place, at least when there's not 3 feet of snow on the ground. And so I loved it there and was lucky enough to get recruited to play baseball there as well. So it all worked out. And then Stanford, I feel like I'm like still pinching myself that I was able to go to Stanford. That campus is like it's like a dream, and it's just one of the best places in the world to learn. You get people coming from all industries coming together who are just trying to advance their career and grow as people. And it's amazing what that admissions office can do in terms of identifying really good people, not just smart people, not just successful people, but really good, solid people. And so some of my best friends in the world are from Stanford GSB.
Very cool. Very cool. So this was something interesting that I found that you and Ben, your partner, Ben Weinberg, actually were childhood buddies growing up, and you knew you wanted to go into business with each other. You just didn't know what you wanted to do. Can you talk about kind of maybe some of the ideas you had before Trailborn, or just how you knew that he was the right person to go into business with?
Yeah. So I guess to tweak what you said a little bit, we had known each other our whole lives socially. We had not worked together. And so going into this, we weren't positive that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives working together. So we actually had a pretty extensive period of time where we were meeting with each other, learning about each other, what our goals and ambitions were, what type of company we wanted to build, what we were both really passionate about, what we were both really good at. And so we had an extensive period of time where we were just trying to solidify that decision of are we the right partners for each other? Because as you guys know, the world changes, hospitality changes, real estate changes, businesses change. Inevitably, there will be change over time. We've already experienced some of that, and so we made the decision that let's make sure we're the right partners before we decide on any one single business idea, and then we can work together to solve all of our problems from there. And so that's one of the best decisions I've ever made. And to answer your question on what some of our ideas were, we were both passionate about real estate, passionate about hospitality, and wanted to build something that there was a real white space where we could have a competitive advantage in, where we'd spend the rest of our lives working on this idea. And that kind of led us down a road of exploring different ideas in and around real estate and hospitality that ultimately landed us on Trailborn, which is our brand and management company, and Castle Peak, which is the investment arm of the business.
Very cool. So now we're going to dive into your career, a little bit how you got to where you are today. So after college, you worked at Goldman Sachs out of school. Then you were one of the first people at Airbnb. I think you were one of the first 30 people there during business school, and then you helped co-found Compass. What did those early days teach you that you still take with you today?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky to have been a part of all those things. And I think, as is the case with most things in life, you don't know exactly where one thing is going to lead you. And so, coming out of undergrad, I was actually, as you mentioned, Dave, I was at Cornell, but I was not in the hotel school. I studied psychology and business undergrad.
Yeah.
Didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and so upon graduating, I just said I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can. And so I just threw myself straight into it: investment banking at Goldman, and then eventually real estate private equity at Goldman. And so there, I just learned a ton about corporate finance, about how different businesses worked. I learned work ethic more than anything else, right? You kind of get your butt kicked
Yeah.
first few years of investment banking. And then from there, while I was working at Goldman, I helped start a nonprofit in my free time, like nights and weekends, helped build a nonprofit called Pencils of Promise, which builds schools in developing countries. And that's what really got me excited about entrepreneurship and building businesses. So I went out to Stanford to kind of make that shift and move towards startups and company building, and was very lucky to find Airbnb while I was there at school. And so Airbnb, I think they had just raised their Series B round, and there was like 30 or something people there, as you said, Steve. And it was a great place to get exposed to what it means to actually create and build something, what product is really about, right? Two of the three founders are product and design focused people. So getting exposure to that was a great experience for me. And so I love my time there. And then was lucky to come back to New York and co-found Compass and run the product team there at Compass. And so I think the theme through all of those is I like to work on consumer problems where there's a big white space and solving something that I'm personally passionate about that's a consumer need. And I think that a lot of those learnings made it possible for us to do what we're doing today.
Good answer. You're answering some of the next question a little bit. We're going to go through it again, but you've co-founded such a diverse range of ventures. So you mentioned Pencils of Promise, Rise Brewing Company, Castle Peak Holdings, Trailborn. Take us a little deeper into what drives you to those, and what do you look for that really gets you excited about starting something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think any good business starts with a real consumer problem or white space in a market. And so I personally, I'm less of a B2B person, right? I like consumer businesses. I like things that I can experience myself, where I can go and talk to someone and understand what their problem is, what their need is, and identify a real opportunity. And so I think that's true of all of those, right? Uh, with Compass, Compass is entering into the brokerage industry, which before we got started was a very slow, tired industry without a lot of technology, low NPS score. Not a lot of people were happy with their real estate brokerage transactions. And so those things combined, where people aren't happy with the product, it's not really leveraging technology, there's an opportunity for improvement, are the types of things that I like to work on. Airbnb created a whole new market themselves. Now they're one of the largest hospitality businesses in the world. And then Maple, which is where I went after Compass, similarly was trying to deliver restaurant quality food to your door in under 30 minutes. That's a product that a lot of people can touch, a lot of people can feel. And I joined an incredible team there that was a fun consumer challenge to solve as well.
So I heard through the grapevine that you got the idea to start Trailborn while you were staying at a very mediocre, probably a little bit too expensive hotel in Estes Park. Is that true?
Yeah, that was one of the key moments. Yeah, it was an evolution, like basically building the idea, but that was one of the kind of light bulb moments for us, where we were in Estes Park, staying in a select service product and paying a lot of money, not really having the experience that we were looking for, and so that was one of those light bulb moments.
Yeah. And how did you decide to focus more on the outdoor space compared to a traditional hotel that is, more in the city?
Yeah, like I said, we wanted to find something that we had a competitive edge in, and where the right macro trends were behind us. And so outdoor travel has been growing. It's something that people like spending their money on. They will continue spending their money on. It's something that Ben and I are personally really interested in and passionate about. We both love the outdoors. We both have young families that we want to take to the outdoors. And if we were to, the two of us, if we were to go try and buy a 500 key property in Midtown Manhattan, like we didn't have a competitive edge there, right? There's a lot of other people focused on that product. There's a lot of other people trying to do that. Whereas we found an opportunity in these markets. It's much harder to find deals in these markets. It's a lot more travel to travel all over the country, but we're actually doing something that we have a competitive edge in because it's all we focus on. And that focus for us really helps us win deals and build a product that's purpose built for our customer, which is why we decided to do it.
For those who are watching or listening who aren't familiar with Trailborn, can you take us through a little deeper dive into what Trailborn's all about?
Yeah. So Trailborn is a brand and management company that exclusively operates what I'll call four-star hotels in outdoor destination markets. That includes wine country, national park markets, beach markets, ski markets, anywhere where there is an outdoor draw, an outdoor activity that people want to go to that destination for. So most of our markets, there's already millions of people traveling there, but they don't have a hotel that's designed forward. They don't have a hotel that has great design. They don't have a hotel that has programming on site. And so we've tried to solve that need by building Trailborn as the brand that is solely focused on these outdoor destinations.
That's great. So now we're going to dive into some thought leadership topics and really what's happening in outdoor hospitality. So now is kind of an interesting time in the outdoor hospitality space. How has it shaped the product you've built? And I guess why is it an interesting time in this space?
Yeah, I mean, listen, COVID was a piece of this puzzle, but people were traveling in the outdoors long before COVID. I think COVID opened people's eyes that weren't traveling the outdoors. So like, wow, there's great places to go here in the US. I don't need to get on a plane and fly to another country to see some beautiful places and get myself and my family outdoors. And so I think outdoor hospitality has almost doubled over the last 7 years, and people want to spend their money on things and on experiences, not on things. And so I think like 3/4 of the country would rather spend their money on going to an experience, outdoor hospitality being one of those things. And so that presents a lot of like strong demand trends for the space. And like I was saying earlier, like there are real supply constraints in this market, right? You're not going into a place where you can build an endless number of keys. And so that supply demand mismatch makes this a really compelling real estate opportunity. And the fact that most of these outdoor destinations don't have a boutique design forward brand makes it a really compelling consumer opportunity.
And you talked about all the different, locations and types of destinations your
Mhm.
properties are in. How do you balance localization and then the consistency across different types of properties?
Yeah, it's a great question. For us, we have a set of pillars that every Trailborn stands behind. And so when you go to a Trailborn, you know it's going to be a destination worth traveling to. You know it's going to be beautifully designed, 4-star product. You know there's going to be programming on site that makes it fun and makes it the kind of place that you can actually enjoy on property, not just out in the destination. You know that we're going to guide your experience because we have a team of experts that are super passionate about the places that you're traveling to. So when you go to the Grand Canyon, you've got a team of people who have been to the Grand Canyon a bunch of times, who know all the best places to go, have all of those insider tips. And then food and beverage. Every one of our properties has great food and beverage, which is not always the case in these markets. Most of these markets don't have great food and beverage. And so those are things that we try and keep consistent from place to place. The way that those come to life is unique for each property. So everything from our room design to our lobby design to our uniforms to the programs that we put on property are all designed to be of the place. And so when you travel to the Grand Canyon and you're on Route 66, you feel like you are in Americana, like right there on Route 66. When you travel to Wrightsville Beach, you don't feel like you're in a mountain resort or in the desert. You feel like you are at a beach resort, a design forward and fun beach resort. And so that's really important because the customer that's traveling to all these places, they don't want a cookie cutter experience, right? This is predominantly leisure travel. They want to feel like they're really experiencing the destination.
And you signed a long-term deal with Marriott, and Marriott is now kind of is focusing a little bit more towards the outdoor
Mhm.
collection. What does that unlock for Trailborn?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're really excited about this agreement with Marriott. It's sort of the best of both worlds for us because we can continue building the product and the experience and control that product and experience that we've spent the last 5 years building. But we now are partnered with Marriott, who is the largest hotel company in the world that has 230 million Bonvoy members that are all looking to get outdoors, that are looking for a product like ours. And so I think it's great for Marriott and it's great for Bonvoy members and it's great for us because we can bring that product to a wider audience now.
Right. So take us through. You've got the Trailborn Grand Canyon, just touched on it a little bit before. Why is it such a meaningful addition to the portfolio? And what does it mean, or how does it really reflect on the brand's broader vision?
Yeah, I think for us, we bring people to basically two types of markets. We bring people to what we'll call regional gems. So, like Wrightsville Beach and Highlands, North Carolina, are places that if you live in the Southeast, you probably heard of those places. If you live anywhere else in the country, you may not have. But if anyone were to go and step foot in those markets, you would be wowed. You'd be like, "Wow, I can't believe I have not heard of this place. This is an amazing place that I wish I had traveled to a long time ago." And so introducing people to those regional gems is something that we take pride in and is a fun part of the Trailborn experience. The other part of the Trailborn experience is taking people to places where millions of people are already going, where it's on their bucket list and they just don't have the hotel product that they're looking for. And so the Grand Canyon squarely fits into that, right? There's 6 million people that go to the south rim of the Grand Canyon every year, and there wasn't a hotel like ours in the market. And so it very much fits what Trailborn is all about, bringing a unique and boutique product to these amazing outdoor destinations. We're right on Route 66, so you get like a true American experience. And we're at one of the seven wonders of the world. I mean, this is like everyone at some point in their lifetime should go and see the Grand Canyon. And now you've got a good place to stay when you do it.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Mike, question for you here. What advice would you give to, maybe somebody who's looking to start their own brand in hospitality, specifically outdoors, or just looking to kind of be an entrepreneur like yourself?
I'd recommend, depending on what they were trying to build, having a partner for me has been crucial. And when you start a business, you go through a lot of ups, you go through a lot of downs, and having someone that you can turn to every single day and make big decisions with, and brainstorm with, and celebrate with, and console when needed to, like that is has been super important for me. I think Ben would probably say the same thing, but I'm very lucky that I've found a partner that I have that we complement each other, we push each other. and we share those same big picture goals. So my advice would be find a partner that you are aligned with on the big picture stuff, but that you're pretty different from on the day to day.
Well said. I like that. I like that. So, Mike, this has been great. We've been asking you questions this whole time. So now we're going to turn the tables and let you ask David and I a question.
Let's talk about AI for a second. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of people that tell you they're doing one thing or another with AI. And so I'm curious what you guys think is actually going to stick when it comes to AI, and how brands are going to be successful in integrating AI into their experience while still keeping it personal and making it feel like a true hospitality experience. I think this is one of the few industries left where there's like a real human component that needs to remain, but inevitably AI is going to be a piece of it. So how do you see that fitting in?
I think AI, like you said, we still need people. I don't think many people want to go into a hotel where everything's automated and there's really no human action. It's just
Hmm.
done by AI. But I do think it'll help hoteliers automate mundane tasks where they can focus more on the hospitality experience. I'll give one example that happened to me is I called a hotel and nobody picked up. The
Hmm.
phone just kept ringing and ringing. I think in that aspect, we've actually had a few people on the podcast where they have had whether call centers or even AI answering that front
Hmm.
desk, and mostly it can handle all those requests. And if not, guess what? Then we bring in somebody if they need more help or something like
Hmm.
that. So I think, automating those tasks to help focus on the hotelier is really where AI is going to stick. I do think, there is going to be this niche where it is fully automated on technology, and that's what people want. They don't want to deal with the front desk. They don't want to wait. They want to walk into a hotel, get a mobile key,
Hmm.
and be on their way. But I think for the most part, it's just going to free up time for hoteliers to provide a better experience.
Okay. Can I ask you one more question?
Sh-
Uh, if you could put a Trailborn anywhere in the country, where would you want a Trailborn to go?
Oh my goodness. Great question. David, you got an idea for this one?
I don't know all your current locations, but one area that we're going to actually, as a family, spend, I'm in Phoenix, so we're going to spend it in Sedona. We're doing an Airbnb in Sedona with great views and everything. And I
Mhm.
am not I like hotels a little bit more than Airbnbs. So I don't know if you're in that destination, but that's just one of those spots where I just love going to Sedona.
Fair enough. I'm going my hometown state here. I'm saying Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's very underrated as far as the beauty that's there, whether it's a lake or, the beautiful scenery that's there. We have some awesome state parks. And you know what? And whenever I go to Wisconsin and I want to go visit those places, the quality of hotels in a lot of them just aren't there. It's kinda like what you ran into at Estes Park, where you'll stay at one of these maybe 2, 3-star hotels, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Man, this trip would be 10 times better if I had
Mhm.
a Trailborn there."
Mhm.
So, I think there's a lot of I think Wisconsin just has so much opportunity for hoteliers, and it's now being considered one of the top states to live in
Mhm.
the United States. So, I think we're gonna see a lot more Wisconsin in the next decade or so.
Yeah. Great.
Cool. Well, our producer, John, also a Midwest boy, has been sitting and listening this whole time as well. So, John, we're going to kick it over to you to ask Mike one more question before we get him out of here.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, I'm gonna throw Michigan in the ring for Trailborn. Somewhere along the Great Lakes. There's so many good
We'll take that.
coastline places to choose from. So I think that that could be in the running there somewhere. One thing I was
Great.
going through your whole portfolio, like looking at everything that you kept saying design forward
Mhm.
and beautiful and boutique, and I was looking through everything and it is really well designed. Like I just found myself being like, man, I would love to just be in that space.
Mhm.
It just feels really good. So I'm curious, you didn't really talk too much about where those design elements come from or how those
Mhm.
come to be or where they're influenced. So I wonder if you could speak to that. Like how did you guys land on some of these design elements? What do you think makes your design unique and special for Trailborn?
Thanks for asking, John. We invest a ton in creative and design. We have our own team in house that whenever we get into a new project, we do all of our concept work up front before we hire any other partners. And so we do that concept work to make sure we have a clear vision on what it is we're trying to create. That takes interviewing locals, interviewing the current staff, really surveying the market to see where the white space is and what that customer that's traveling there is looking for. And then we have a creative team that starts to pull together a whole concept deck, which I think is unique. Usually you go and hire a designer who puts a concept deck together. But what we've found is that if you want the product to look and feel like how you envisioned it, the more work you can do up front to make sure that those design partners are sprinting in the right direction, it'll not only make the product better, but make the whole process a lot more efficient. And so we do our concept work. We then find an interior design partner that fits the type of design that we are trying to bring to life. And then we work very closely hand in hand with those partners, them driving the bus on the interior design with some of our help, and then us driving the bus on a lot of the other brand elements like signage and artwork and programming and uniforms. And that collaboration really delivers a really cohesive product at the end of it.
Well, that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier. Mike, this is where you get to let people know how they can reach out to you and how they can find out more about Trailborn.
Sure, you could come to our website, trailborn.com, or follow us on Instagram at Trailborn Hotels.
Well, that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier, the most engaged podcast in hospitality. Whether you're watching or listening, we appreciate you and hope to see you again soon. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
You made it to the end of The Modern Hotelier. Thanks for watching or listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Modern Hotelier Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you know a good guest, sponsor, or have media needs, feel free to reach out to us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. Thanks and have a great day.